Good morning and welcome back to our news update coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Salia Strzemska. Ukraine suffered another deadly mass drone attack by Russian forces in the early hours of Saturday, with air raid warnings sounding across the country. With some strikes occurring near the Polish border, Poland responded by scrambling its fighter jets.
Authorities in the southern Odessa region reported that at least one person was killed and 3 injured after intense Russian airstrikes on the port city. Pictures posted online showed fire engulfing an apartment building, with emergency crews battling the blaze. As smoke billowed from the windows, parents were seen carrying children to safety in blankets. The local mayor reported on Telegram that at least 20 drones were used in the attacks. Elsewhere, Ukrainian air defense forces reported Russian missiles targeting the Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, Poltava and Cherkasy regions.
Australia said on Saturday that it had delivered Abrams tanks to Ukraine as part of its latest $160 million aid package. Officials said Kyiv had taken possession of most of the 49 tanks given by Australia, and the rest will be delivered in the coming months. So far, Australia has provided more than $980 million in military support to Ukraine in its war against Russian aggression. Australia has also banned exports of alumina and aluminum ores, including bauxite, to Russia, and has sanctioned about 1,000 Russian individuals and businesses. Zelensky's government reshuffle is an effort to assign the most qualified people to the best positions, says Ashton Cirillo, former sergeant at the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine. Commenting on Zelensky's move, Ashton Cirillo explained that the changes in the Ministry of Defense will translate to improved weapons production and quicker reactions.
So the significance of the move is to put the best people into the best spots. The former prime minister is an incredible manager, a man who understands how to keep the government moving. And currently, the Ministry of Defense is an integral part of Ukraine's entire perspective, both internally and externally. Regarding Mr. Umarov, his movement into the chairman role of the National Security and Defense Council plays into his strengths. He's an analyst. He's a man who understands negotiations. And in this particular case, Mr. Umarov is now chairman of what we could maybe consider the overarching intelligence body of Ukraine. You know, the streamlining of different procurement procedures, the understanding that if you had what was known previously as the Ministry of Strategic Industries, which had some overlapping areas of interest with the Ministry of Defense, they've now been merged into one. We're going to see quicker abilities, quicker reactions, especially when it comes to weapons production under the Ministry of Defense and procurement from our partners, including ultimately the United States.
U.S. Special Envoy Keith Kellogg's week-long visit to Ukraine will help Washington better understand Kyiv's defense priorities and peace efforts, said Oleksandr Korniyenko, First Deputy Speaker of the Ukrainian Parliament. He shared his thoughts in an interview with TVP World's Ukraine This Week.
He worked here in Kyiv like our colleague from parliament, like our colleague, from government. He's made a lot of work, a lot of efforts, a lot of meetings with officials, with militaries. He was on our military camps and different industries. And it's one of the signs that administration start to be more involved in our process, in our Ukrainian matters, to understand better how it can be more realistic to receive this long and lasting peace in a short time. We know that President Trump gave to this conflict 50 days, and it was since 7 days ago. We have only 43. But we understand that it's time for Putin. It's not time for Ukraine, because Ukraine already ready to ceasefire, to unconditional ceasefire. But we think that it's this time we will do next a lot of efforts to increase our strengths, to increase our air defense strengths, to increase our drone production and other military production with the United States, with European partners all together.
The UK has sanctioned more than 20 Russian spies, hackers and organizations for what it described as a sustained campaign of malicious cyber activity targeting Europe. This comes as the EU officially approved its 18th sanctions package against Russia. Alex Cadier reports from Brussels.
Well, of course, these long-awaited sanctions from the European Union, the 18th package agreed by the 27 member states, targeting Russia's war economy, targeting Russia's ability to finance its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Included in these sanctions will be a ban on the use or the restarting of the use of the Nord Stream pipeline, ensuring that Russian gas will not flow freely into the European Union. Also, those shadow fleet, those old oil tanker ships that Russia uses to get around the existing sanctions. More of those ships will be listed in the EU's sanctions regime. Russian banks will be targeted in this as well, trying to squeeze as much as possible Russia's ability to finance its war. There will be an oil price cap as well, something the UK will be joining into, but the UK on the same day as the European Union announcing what it described as the largest sanctions against Russia's cyber offensive capabilities, targeting the Russian intelligence service, the GRU, accused of hybrid attacks across Europe, accused, of course, of the poisoning of Sergei Skripal in Salisbury many years ago. So clearly a coordinated effort here between the European Union and the UK, trying to hit Russia's finances, trying to hit Russia's cyber capabilities as well. A pressure, of course, being applied while we wait for those 50 days set by Donald Trump to see if the US president will join in putting pressure on Russia. For now, Europe and the UK stepping up. In Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier for TVP World.
The 18th sanctions package is commendable, but not a real game changer. That's according to Bill Browder, head of the Global Magnitsky Justice Campaign. Browder was a guest on yesterday's edition of TVP World's World News Tonight. Here's more.
Every aspect of the sanctions policy continues to be sort of incremental and gradual, as opposed to devastating and overwhelming. There's one thing that can be done that would put Russia out of business, and to know what that thing is to look at a piece of legislation which is being proposed in the United States, which would basically punish anybody who buys Russian oil. This is the Lindsey Graham proposal. And the idea would be to put a 500% tariff on anybody who buys Russian oil. If that were to ever happen from the United States, or if the EU were to sign on to that, people like India or countries like India and China would not buy Russian oil. If they don't buy Russian oil, Putin doesn't get the money. If he doesn't get the money, he can't afford the war, and he'd be out of business. And so while I applaud the 18th sanctions package from the EU, if we look at it, does it put Russia out of business? No, it's incremental, it's marginal. It makes life a little bit more difficult for people in Russia and for Putin, but it doesn't put them out of business.
The finance ministers of Germany, the Netherlands and Sweden say they oppose joint EU borrowing plans to help fund the bloc's €2 trillion 2028 to 2034 spending plans.
Speaking on the sidelines of a G20 meeting in South Africa, the Dutch finance minister Jelko Heijnen said the proposed budget was too large and described it as dead on arrival. The European Commission on Wednesday proposed a €2 trillion 7-year EU budget, placing a new emphasis on economic competitiveness and defence. Common borrowing was first used by the EU to help countries pay for the recovery from the coronavirus pandemic. Germany's finance minister Lars Klingbeil said the EU had used joint debt in a crisis situation, but it was not an appropriate mechanism to fund the bloc's finances now.
The UK and the EU have agreed to lower the price cap on Russian crude oil in order to further cut its war revenues. The new cap drops the price from $60 to just under $48 per barrel.
We have taken these steps in conjunction with our allies in the European Union. So this is not Britain acting alone. This is a partnership with our European allies to put maximum pressure on Russia and reduce their ability to fund their war effort. The oil price cap that's been in place since 2022 has already had an impact on reducing Russian oil revenues. But today we are going further to support Ukraine and to put pressure on Russia.
Romanian President Nicu Șordan, who took office in May, has made his first international visit to Berlin. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz praised his electoral win as a signal beyond Romania. The two also discussed closer NATO cooperation and plans for a potential joint munitions factory.
In your election campaign, you have proven that you stand for a democratic and European Romania, and you have sent a strong political signal also beyond Romania. We have followed these elections in your country, in Europe and Germany closely. I want to congratulate you on your election. Romania and Germany are important partners in security politics. For NATO, Romania plays a key role on Europe's eastern flank. We want our military industries to work more closely together. We agree that Russia has attacked Ukraine against international law. We cooperate to increase pressure on Russia and strengthen Ukraine. This way, we will get Moscow to the negotiating table.
Völkerrechtswidrigen russischen Angriffskriegs auf die Ukraine sind wir uns einig.
This week, Poland recalled its ambassador to Hungary without appointing a replacement, leaving only the chargé d'affaires in place. Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski told TVP World that relations with Hungary are likely to remain strained as long as Budapest continues to offer asylum to opposition politician Marcin Romanowski. Romanowski is accused of embezzling millions of euros during his time in office.
Hungary, as you know, made an unfriendly gesture by giving asylum to a suspected criminal. And until that changes and until Hungary stops blocking almost €500 million of money that we are owed from the European Peace Facility, it'll be hard to have better relations.
Slovenia has approved a law to allow assisted dying, giving terminally ill patients the right to end their lives if they face unbearable suffering with no expectation of improvement. The legislation follows a consultative referendum last year in which 55% of voters backed the plan. Treatment options will have to be exhausted and the right to assisted dying will not be available in the cases of unbearable suffering resulting from mental illness. Slovenia joins Australia, Canada, the Netherlands and Belgium, which are among the countries that permit assisted dying. A civil group that opposes the new law said on Friday it would try to gather enough public support to force a referendum on the new law. Ten more hostages will soon be released from Gaza, says Donald Trump. At a White House dinner with lawmakers, the U.S. president revealed that his administration is working to secure their release and hopes it will happen soon. Trump also praised the efforts of his special envoy, Steve Witkoff.
Armenia and Azerbaijan, we worked magic there, and it's pretty close. If not, it's already done. And in Gaza, we got most of the hostages back. We're going to have another 10 coming very shortly, and we hope to have that finished pretty quickly. And Steve Witkoff has been fantastic. He's done a great job in that. He's a very good man, good deal maker. I said, I need a good deal maker with a good personality, and there aren't too many of them, but Steve is, and he's done a great job. Serbia, Kosovo, they were going at it. They've gone at it for years, I guess for centuries, but they've gone at it for years, and we got that one taken care of.
And with this, we conclude our news update. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for more.